I love being a part of a flexible worship team. Come on, that wasn't planned. Thank you, all of you. And if you weren't familiar with some of those tunes, it's because those tunes were written in-house. Oh, hey, that's right. And what's interesting to me is when you start singing songs like, "You're the Holy of Holies," because you are, and "Union" around intertwinedness, you'll oftentimes get Christians offended by that because they think that worship should only be upward. To deny that you are the Holy of Holies because the Holy of Holies lives in you is actually pride. When you understand union, that there's no separation, there never has been separation, there never will be separation because God's presence permanently lives within you, it doesn't produce pride. To not believe it produces pride because what you're saying is, God, watch me do, watch me try, watch me believe harder, better, longer. All the things that Christians tend to think is necessary. Y'all, it's a gift. You're the Holy of Holies. And the more and more you believe it, the more and more you'll walk in love, the more and more you'll walk in empowerment, the more and more you'll sweat in out this air conditioning. Come on, somebody. Mel made a joke earlier and she says, we're having hot work sermon this morning. Hey, if you don't know what that is, Hot Works, brand new in Floyd's Knobs. Use promo code Cory to get 50% off. I'm just kidding, that doesn't exist, but if it does, it might, try it. Y'all may be seated. Band, thank you again. Britt, you are amazing. I love this team. I love that you can seriously change it up like that. I used to believe that when things like, hey, middle school, high school students, go enjoy the air conditioning. Hey, parents, I'm not gonna preach longer than 20 minutes because it is so hot in here. I'm dying. Are y'all dying? I used to believe that what happened this morning was spiritual warfare. Used to. I used to believe that 13-year-old air conditioning units and 13-year-old speakers going out was the devil. Not everything is spiritual. So a lot of things are natural. Sometimes crap breaks. And I love when stuff like this happens, especially on a Sunday morning, because it gives you an opportunity to confront some spiritual crap that we believed in our lives, but also gives us an opportunity to challenge our natural in the midst of things that happen that aren't planned. Oh, come on. Guys, I don't have much to say today, but I hope that you talk back for the little bit that I do, because it is hot, and I've already sweat through my Burlington shirt. Hey, a couple announcements real quick. This Wednesday is a big deal, June 25th, not because my daughter turns 9, but because Pastor Shannick's first book comes out this Wednesday. I'm so proud of you. Y'all, many of you have read the advanced copies and you know how incredible it is. Regardless of wherever you are on the theological spectrum, you are going to be empowered and blown away by his vulnerability, his authenticity, what he's had to deal with as a lead pastor, been raised in the church. Y'all, I can't wait for you to get it. Buy it on Amazon. It's called Enough Already this Wednesday. Buy it, share it on all of your social media platforms, send it in text message. Let's get this thing to become an Amazon #1 bestseller. Can you do that for him? Come on, it is awesome. I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited about that. So pay attention on socials, it's gonna be fun. Also, we have so much information being released in this church. I got free ebooks for you to download every single month, and they're amazing, and they're provocative, so go do that, right? Yeah, whatever. And last but not least, but I did wanna do this, because we spent some time this past week with some friends from the past, and we were talking about how this church has drastically shifted in the last 7 years. So I'm gonna ask you to participate. If you have been a part of this church since before 2018, would you put your hand in the air? Since before 2018, okay. Look around, y'all. Many of you are fairly new, and some of you have been around for a while. This church has been around for over 40 years, isn't that crazy? And in 2018, we started to get more comfortable sharing publicly some of the things that we believed, but weren't sure about how to present that to the church. Because when you're a part of a church organization, sometimes the ship is very, very big, and to change certain thoughts or ideas, or to challenge certain thoughts or ideas, to turn that boat slow enough so people don't fall off is something we're still learning. But I appreciate you so much the sermon series that we've been in called Replay, where we've been looking at Matthew chapter 20, the parable of the vineyard workers. Like, you all live this. You are some of the most inclusive people on the planet. You are some of the most incredible, God-honoring, by your loving your neighbor people, regardless of what they believe, regardless of how they vote, regardless of what's going on in our world, even though we know that what's going on in our world is very tense, right? And so I'm just so grateful to be a part of a church who's been along this journey to really challenge our beliefs about God, getting a better and bigger view of who God is, not just in the lives of Christians within the church, but in the lives of all people. It's provocative when you think about it. And so I'm just gonna read this verse. We've been talking about this for the last 4 weeks. Pastor Tish did great, Julia did great, Pastor Derek did great. I'm just gonna drop some things and let you figure it out the rest of this week. You cool? All right, I'm gonna read this fast because you guys have heard it 3 weeks in a row. And you've probably been reading it on your own time because you guys care about that. Whatever. It's going to be on the screen behind me. Matthew chapter 20. I'm going to read it fast from my iPad. And I'm going to just pause on 2 verses this morning. You ready? All right. Matthew chapter 20. You've heard it 3 weeks in a row. It says this: for the kingdom of heaven, it's not talking about afterlife, by the way. Kingdom of heaven was something that Jesus said was at hand. It was a present reality. We live in the kingdom of heaven, and right now it's within you. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarii, which was a day's wage, and sent them into his vineyard. About 9 a.m, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again at about noon and again at about 3 in the afternoon, and he did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" They responded in verse 7, "Because no one has hired us," they replied. In other words, they had been there the whole time. Y'all, these isn't lazy people. They had been there the whole time. No one invited us. No one revealed what was always true. Okay. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." Verse 8, when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call all the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." Remember, Jesus is talking to Jews who thought that they were first because of everything that they did, all the 6 a.m. workers like Julia talked about. Can you pray for me? I'm married to a 6 a.m. worker. Can you believe that? She's not in here. She's with the kids, so I can say whatever I want. The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarii. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more. Hold that verse up there. I only want to talk about expectation this morning. Some translations say convinced. Some translations say assumed. And we all know what happens when you make assumptions, right? Expected. I will get to theological expectations, but I want to hit everybody in the room here. So let's talk about expectations, because I can guarantee you that every single area of your life that is sitting in disappointment or frustration comes from an expectation that was either communicated that was not met, or an expectation that was not communicated that you had. Expectations are destroying our lives, friends. They're destroying our marriages. They're destroying our marriages because the only reason why you're having marriage problems in this season is because of an expectation you haven't shared, or an expectation that you did share that wasn't being met. Sexual expectations. The only reason why you're frustrated about your marriage sexually is because of an expectation that you have around sex. And let's just be real honest about this. As men, I'm now convinced that it's less about the act and more about the desire beforehand. Men are frustrated because of the sexual expectation that they have, less about the act and more about being desired. Women are frustrated around sex because of, well, we won't go there. But men, y'all need to figure it out. We're frustrated in our marriage around finances because of the expectations that we carried into the marriage around finances, depending on how you grew up. You have expectations about how and when and where money will be spent, and when they aren't spent that way, even if you communicated it, you get frustrated. This happened yesterday with us. We're not in debt and we're in a good place. But we had a conversation around finances yesterday that I got frustrated about because my wife wants to take my daughter to Chicago for her 9th birthday to the American Girl doll store. I'm not stupid. I know how much those dolls cost. Why can't we buy an Amazon rip-off American Girl doll for $20? It is the same. No, I know it's not the same, but here I am standing in this frustration, sharing about my intimate conversations with my wife because she's in the kids ministry. But I get frustrated. Why? Because of an expectation about where our budgets for this month was. And I didn't have this conversation before yesterday. So guess where? Now I got to rearrange our budget so that we can fit in this thousands of dollars that she wants to spend on these stupid No, I know they're not. But I got the microphone. Expectation. This is real life. Come on, every single one of you are right now living in an expectation. Expectation about how your life would have gone by now. Expectation around your work and your career, where you would have been, where you haven't been, the money that you should have made, the money that you're not making. Expectations around our relationships, our friendships. Why don't they reach out? Don't they know I'm going through hell right now? Why isn't anybody checking in on me? I wonder if that Facebook post is about me. I wonder what they're doing. Why aren't they hanging out with me? Why didn't my friends invite me out? And all of a sudden we sit in these disappointments and in these frustrations, all because of expectations that we had, expectations about our friendships, expectations about our relationships, expectations about our marriage, expectation about our church. Man, I hope our church talks about this topic, or why do they talk about this topic, or why can't they talk about that topic? Expectations about war, what's going on in our country, who's really in control, why are we doing these things, why aren't we doing these things? Everybody has an opinion, and we don't even know all the details, but we have an expectation. Man, we got expectations all over the place. And if we're not careful about our expectations, how we communicate them and how we deal with them, you're going to be living into this world that only creates chaos for you and your loved ones, all because of an expectation that wasn't met. It's not bad to have expectations, but we need to be okay to talk about them and to have actual dialogue around them and be able to adjust them, because if you don't, you will live in frustration, you will live in disappointment, and it will rob you of living. Let's talk about it theologically, because these people had an expectation. You know, this story is not real. This didn't happen. This was a parable that Jesus was using to confront his first century Jewish audience. But he's hitting them with a dagger because they believed that what they believed and how they act determined the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus throws this parable in their face to try to rip up everything that they thought they believed about God. This happens even still today. You will have Christians arguing about their expectations about who is in, whatever that means, and who is out, whatever that means. And then you'll have Christians leave church because the church tells the audience that there is no in and out. There's only in. And this is what Jesus came to reveal. And it's provocative. And it's frustrating. Because a lot of us have done church and continue to do church because it puts us in the conversation of what we have done, what we have believed, what we have sacrificed, what we haven't done or wanted to do or didn't do because we wanted to do it, but we didn't know if we could do it, so we didn't do it because we wanted to do it, but we didn't care about doing it, but maybe we did care about doing it because we only told people we didn't really want to do it because of how they would judge us if they knew we wanted to do it. Come on, you get around church folk, they get weird. And Jesus was trying to let his audience know that the gospel kingdom message of Jesus was, hey, awaken to what has always been true about who you are and watch your life change. In fact, there's not one recording conversation of someone praying a sinner's prayer in the Bible because it doesn't exist. And I like how Shane Willard said it a couple weeks ago. He said, what do you think people did when Jesus said that salvation had came to people's houses before they had Romans 10, 9, and 10? See, if we're not careful, we will live verse 11 based on what we think about verse 10. Throw out verse 11. It says, when they received their wage, which was the same, they began to grumble. Some translations say complain. Some translations say offended. I like offended better. When they received it, they were offended against the landowner. Verse 12, these who were hired last worked only an hour. You have made them equal to us, equal to the people who prayed the prayer, equal to the people who did all the things that they were supposed to do in the church, equal to the people that showed up every Sunday, that gave 10%, that served in every children's opportunity, that served all over the church, that did everything that they were supposed to do and didn't. He said, take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Some translations say, do you have an evil eye because I am good? You know, he's talking to church people and he calls them having an evil eye, which is a metaphor. I learned this from Paul White a couple years ago. I thought this was fascinating. Evil eye is a metaphoric phrase. In the Hebrew, it was used in Deuteronomy 15, chapter 9. It means to resent generosity because the receiver wouldn't do with it what you would do with it. In other words, it's an evil eye is to think they don't deserve it. Determining that someone else is not worth it. The evil eye is actually my condition. When I think who's in and who's out based on what I can see happening in the natural instead of understanding what God did already in the spiritual. If I'm angry about God's goodness to people I deem as unworthy, then I have an evil eye. Jesus was confronting his first century Jewish church people for having an evil eye, for being offended, grumbling, complaining about an expectation they had about who they thought was in. That is wild. I've been in this tension for now 10 years talking about this, dealing with people's labels online, dealing with the things that we teach on Two Pastors and Mike, dealing with the controversy because of who we include. I want you to understand the most important thing I'm gonna say right now is Jesus was not crucified because of who he excluded. He was crucified because of who he included. And so I want to close, told you it was going to be quick. I want to close with this thought. Actually, I'm going to read you a chapter. I got to Dr. Robin Smith. She is releasing Shannick's book coming out. She has a book coming out in July. It's called The Very Good News. I got to be a part of her team to read the advanced copy, and I was reading it this past week, and I was blown away by how she wrote chapter 10. Chapter 10 is called The Scandal of Kindness. It's the story of Jonah, which for many of the Christians in this room, Jonah is not necessarily a true story. It's a real story that had impact. There's a lot of debate about whether or not it's a real story or not. My favorite thing about Jonah is not the fact that it's a story about a guy getting swallowed by a whale, allegedly. It's about chapter 4. Jonah chapter 4 is one of the craziest stories in all of the Bible because it reveals that Jonah ran from the Ninevites not because he was scared about them or scared from them because they were evil people, but he ran because he did not want to preach about the goodness of God because he knew that God was good and would restore Nineveh. Happens in the church all the time. We call it older brother syndrome. In Luke chapter 15, the story of the prodigal son, the story of the religious older brother who stayed and did everything, crossed all his T's, dotted all his I's, and was mad at his dad for showing grace to his younger brother because his younger brother should have known better, the evil eye. And the father reveals to the oldest son, everything I have is already yours. What are you doing? It revealed his motivation. It revealed his heart. That's Jonah. And she wrote this incredible chapter. It's not going to take long, a couple minutes. But I want to read it to you because it is just so incredible the way that she wrote about God's kindness through the lens of Jonah. Tim, come help me close. She said this, chapter 2, the scandal of kindness. You ready? Don't go to sleep now just because I'm reading a chapter in a book. It's real quick. I'm gonna be animated too as I read this. The prophet fled. Not from fear, not from weakness, not from ignorance. He fled because he knew the scandal of mercy of Yahweh, knew the goodness that would be revealed, his graciousness, his compassion. He knew that even these pagan, violent, murderous Ninevites were not outside the reach of grace, so he ran. Because once mercy was seen, once goodness was unveiled, he knew what would happen. And now it had happened. Goodness was revealed, kindness was poured out, and the city was transformed. Not because they had earned it, not because they had proven worthy, but because mercy had never left. Because goodness had always been withheld, or had never been withheld. Because love had never let them go. And because kindness was and still is scandalous. Now they were experiencing it. The prophet left the city, his heart raging. What God had done to Jonah, it was evil. Grace poured out on Nineveh? Unthinkable, unbearable. It burned in Jonah's bones. So he built a shelter, sat beneath it, watching, waiting. He knew this would happen. That's why he had ran in the first place, because Jonah knew something about God, something terrifying, something scandalous, something the righteous could barely admit. God is kind, too kind, and not just to Israel, not just to the faithful, but to all, to them, to the wicked, to the perverse, to the ones who should have been beyond mercy, the ones too far gone, the ones God should never have use for, the ones the righteous warned their children about. And now they wouldn't burn, they wouldn't be destroyed. They were free, embraced, accepted. And Jonah couldn't stomach it. He prayed, spitting the words through clenched teeth. Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still in my own country? That's why I fled to Tarshish, because I knew you are gracious, merciful, slow to anger, overflowing with covenant love, the one who turns from judgment. I knew that was the problem. I knew he had tasted this mercy himself. Mercy that outran rebellion, kindness that shattered expectation, love that refused to draw boundaries, and now they would taste it too. This was scandalous, because if Yahweh embraced them, what became of all of his striving? What became of all of his obedience? What became of his work? His separateness from them, his prophetic calling. If Yahweh's heart beat with this kind of goodness, then the whole system of insiders and outsiders collapse. So Jonah watched, waiting, hoping for judgment to fall, for the fire from heaven to consume them, for mercy to falter, but it didn't. Nineveh stood. The city became alive beneath Yahweh's goodness, and Yahweh spoke again. Should I not have compassion on this great city? Should I not give to others what I want to in my heart? On more than 120,000 who do not know their right hand from their left, and even on the animals, the words hung in the desert air. No answer came, only anger, silence. Below, Nineveh pulsed with life. Streets alive with voices, tables spread, hope in the eyes of children. Songs rising from homes, faces lifted, life where death had threatened, joy where terror once ruled, no judgment, no fire, no reckoning, only life. Mercy triumphed. Above, on the hillside, beneath a withered vine, Jonah watched. A prophet undone by the very kindness he was sent to proclaim. A man hardened against grace, alone with his anger beneath a withered vine, eyes fixed on a city he could not rejoice for. And yet, love remained. Love did not turn away, even from Jonah, even from this hill, even from this hardened heart. The vine withered, and so did the prophet's certainty. But kindness stood near still. That's the heart of our Father. And what we've been trying to teach over the last 7 years at Hill City is be careful about who you exclude from the love of God. Because God, according to Paul, is within all and in all. Acts 17, he preaches to pagans the same thing. It's provocative. Maybe there isn't an us versus them. Maybe it is something you need to think about. Maybe it is something you need to walk in more of. What I mean by walk in more of, I mean walk in more of the goodness and grace that God has bestowed on all of us. And maybe when you start to catch the true gospel message that all are included, it gives you life to actually remind people, hey, you're better than the way that you're behaving. I love you. I can call into you who you have always been because I see Christ within you. That is having pure eyes. See, everything about this story flipped the gospel message upside down as Jesus was proclaiming he was including the people the church didn't. And that's our message. That's why we went through this passage 4 weeks in a row to remind us that God's goodness and grace is better than you think it is. It's also an interesting thing is he starts this parable by concluding Matthew chapter 19, talking about the first will be last and the last will be first, then he shares this parable and then he says it again. The first will be last, the last will be first. God is flipping the religious hierarchy that many of us have lived in. It was a warning to the religious elite who are confident in their position and an invitation to all to join us for the feast at the Father's table. The repetition reveals the foundational truth of the kingdom of God, the scandal of grace, the scandal of kindness, the scandal of love. May you live that this week, church. I love this church so much. I'm so grateful for every single one of you because I think that when you preach a sermon like this, you're not really challenging people. You're reminding and empowering people of what they already know is to be true. You are an amazing group of people. You're an empowered group of people. Walk in the love that Christ created you with and watch people's lives be transformed because of the way that you love them. Let me pray for you. Father, I just thank you so much for who you are. I thank you for your goodness. I thank you for your grace. I thank you for your kindness. I thank you that it is scandalous. I pray that you continue to challenge me on the people that I exclude, challenge me on the people that I think less of, challenge my own evil eye because I still have it. I'm thankful for your grace. I'm thankful that your justice is always mercy, even though sometimes I don't want it to be. I pray, Father, that you continue to empower people this week, empower people this month, empower people this year to continue to rip off the religious grave clothes that keep them behind and keep them excluding. And may they find and rest the inclusive love of Christ in their everyday lives. We love you, Lord, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. Hey, next week we're gonna have a party. This Wednesday, Shannick's book releases. Get it on Amazon. We're gonna celebrate next week. And you're loved, church, and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll see you next week.